Yeah, it should be live on YouTube, Jonas. If you just go on there, grab the link, you could email my whole list and just let them know they can come in there. That would be great. Yeah, there we go. Okay. So, I always say to my students who tell me, oh, now it's letting people in. Yay. I always say to my students who say, this is David, this is the worst time to be alive. The world is falling apart. There's a pandemic, there's war. What else could there be? There's racism, there's anger, there's so much happening. And I always remind them, like my grandparents almost starved to death in World War II and survived the Nazis. There was plagues before. We've had so much violence and death and war on this planet. It is unbelievable. I had a guest on one of my podcasts once, Dr. Dean Radin, who had a book, and in it called Real Magic. And in the book, he said, if aliens came to Earth and they looked down at us as a species, they would see a species of beings mostly spending their time sleeping, pooping, and crying. And when I read that, I was like, oh man, sleeping, pooping, and crying. I was like, that's not wrong. And then when we have a little extra time, we get violent, right? But in my experience traveling around this planet, living on different continents, the vast majority of people that I have met have been beautiful, kind, loving people. Over 99% of the people I've met in my life have been good people. And then for whatever reason, I heard Cesar Millan, the dog trainer, the dog whisperer, he said, human beings are the only species on Earth that will select an unstable pack leader. We're the only ones that do that. Any other animal, if you're a pack leader and you're unstable, if you're not doing the job, they move you out of the way. And here comes the next one. For some reason, we like to raise all the crazies to the top. We'll follow you off a cliff. that could make the rest of us pretty depressed on occasion. So let me jump back to distance healing. I deeply believe in distance healing. I think a lot of it depends on the person receiving a healing, if they're able to receive it, and on the person's energy giving it. So if you're full of negativity and anger, it's hard to give a distance healing. It's hard to send love to somebody at a distance, right? So what's the opposite of distance healing? If we're all sitting here upset, judgmental, and angry, sending hate towards someone, that's the opposite of distance healing, isn't it? So we want to turn that energy or inside out. We want to heal it. And then we want to give love if we can. And if we can't, then maybe it's not time to share our healing yet. Maybe we need to sit with ourselves and work on ourselves. And with every tragedy, with every world war, with every pandemic, with every major incident on Earth, there always comes an opportunity on the other side of it, right? There's always a rebirth out of destruction. And I'm hoping there'll be some kind of rebirth at the end of this as well. But right now, the European continent is caught in the middle of a pretty large war that is just most likely beginning to escalate. There's millions of people out there that are pretty afraid and hurting and hiding and hoping they'll be okay. I have a mutual friend with the president of Ukraine, and I've heard nothing but wonderful things about him and his family. And so I'm praying for them and holding them up in some light. And hopefully in this meditation together, we can do that for everybody on the planet hurting. And I mentioned when I wrote an email to all of you and invited you that we might have to work a little bit on our dark sides as well. We're all part of this collective species, and we all give to it consciously or unconsciously. We all have something to share. And I don't think it takes all of us to shift the species. I think that if a small group of people shift their consciousness enough, it can create a wave that passes through the rest of the species to make a difference. When we look back at history and we look at someone like Christ or the Buddha or Mother Teresa or Thich Nhat Hanh, people, individuals that had some deep realization and shift in themselves. And then that reverberated through the world, sometimes for thousands of years, and continues to. One person's awakening can create an effect on millions of people over thousands of years. What would happen if many of us started having those kinds of spiritual awakenings and started shifting our energy and started becoming our own Buddhas? Perhaps there would be a threshold that we could cross and the whole species could have an opportunity to shift. So while, yes, on the outside, it looks like there's chaos, that there's war, that there's violence, that there's racism and hate, all of that is happening. There's no sugarcoating that or pretending it's not real. But at the same time, there's something else happening. And it's not something that the news is going to report on. Woman sitting home alone meditating had a spiritual shift tonight at 6 p.m. Right? Man says he's always present in the moment, happy, grounded, and peaceful. We'll have more of this breaking story next. Never happens, right? Yeah. Woman goes to work. Someone judges her and says something mean, and she doesn't react. Next. There's no story there. In the news, what bleeds always leads. And now we're so connected. You take the 10 worst things that happen to 7.5 billion people, you put it in the psychic veins of every person on earth, and you raise the anxiety level to a boiling point where nobody can handle it. And then they all start going at each other, or they get depressed and they go at themselves. And so that is a phenomenon that's happening on the planet right now. It's an effect of a technology we don't fully understand yet or have control over, that we've developed in the last 30 years, right? It wasn't until, or even less, wasn't until late 90s, 1990s that we really started getting on the internet. And all of a sudden we're all connected all the time. And it is driving us crazy. Literally, all of you are a bunch of internet trolls. You're all a bunch of commenting internet trolls. No, I hope not. But that technology has also birthed beautiful apps like Insight Timer, and it's birthed this Zoom meeting, and it's birthed the ability to fall in love with somebody online that lives halfway around the world, and it's birthed the ability to do your own research and find your own answers around difficult topics, and it's birthed the ability to book your travel and go to any corner of the world, and it's birthed the ability to even see. I saw my doctor last week over Zoom with Parsley Health. It was amazing. Someone came to my house, took my blood, sent it somewhere. I never left my house. Okay, so there's beautiful parts of this technology. In fact, when there was an invasion of a country like there is going on right now, back in the day, it was all propaganda and disinformation, and there was no way to know otherwise. And now we've got iPhones, and we can share video and truth. And so we can fight back against that kind of propaganda and disinformation. So there's a light side to our technology and there's a dark side. And it's really just a reflection and an amplification of who we are as a species. It's nothing more and it's nothing less. You can't blame a technology that doesn't have consciousness. It's all us. And I know everyone's worried, what if it gains consciousness, David? And it's like the Terminator. Most of us will probably be gone by then. I don't know what to say about that. Someone met their boyfriend online. Good. Wonderful. So, and then let's take it out of the macro and into the personal. So how is technology affecting your personal life? Are you over absorbing the news, and is it making you anxious all the time? Are you constantly fighting with people online? Are you addicted to your phone? How is it affecting your life on an individual level? And I think meditation and mindfulness can really help us break some of those addictions and patterns and be more present. And I think almost everyone I know is somewhat addicted to their technology. So even though we're on technology right now, perhaps we can kind of draw some of our energy back into our humanity, have compassion for what's happening to people on this planet and do some healing on ourselves in the world and shift some energy. So that's what I like to do with you in this meditation. Yeah. Somebody's wrote, they connect with conscious media creators to help shift the planet. Beautiful. Yeah. Wonderful. And I thought I'd be promoting my book all week. And here we are in the middle of a war meditating. Who can plan? Who writes this? What is happening? Oh, there's one other thing I wanted to mention before we jump into meditation. For some reason, it's been coming up today, and well, for clear reason, and I find it relevant. But I've heard a number of stories about people having what we would call an NDE, or a near-death experience, and I actually had one similar experience once, and it was like everybody describes. I don't think I've ever shared this story, but it was like going through a tunnel with a light at the end of it, and it felt very, very peaceful. And there was two like light being entities just kind of guiding me, and they were just like points of light. They didn't have any forms or names or anything. It wasn't like, hey, I'm John, he's Bill, we're gonna take you to the next place and show you around. So let me just stamp your card. Very peaceful, very profound. And so many people across every religious tradition, every culture on planet Earth have had this experience of thinking they were going to die and having that and coming back. And the reason I bring that up is because when something really tragic happens, when we lose somebody, when there's war, there's a lot of death, we start asking ourselves, is there anything else? Is there purpose for being here? What's the point of all of this suffering? And for me, having that experience gave me a different perspective on life. And maybe what I could share from that would be, my sense is when you come to the end of your life, whether it really is the end or not, you kind of have this reflection moment of where you look back at everything that's happened. You have like almost like a life review. And the only things that really end up mattering are how much love you cultivated and experienced and how much you grew. Doesn't matter about how much money you made, how popular you were, any of that jazz, how much you accumulated. How much love you got to experience and cultivate, and how much you grew. That's my sense of what happens when you go to pass through that threshold at the end of a life. But why wait until the end of your life to think about that, to deal with it, and to really shift it in yourself? Why not cultivate as much love as you can now and grow as much as you can, so that when that day does come and Bill and Ted and whoever your guides are, like, hey, we're crossing the Rainbow Bridge. How'd you do? And you're like, oh, my 20s were a little rocky. My 30s, I started to bring it back together. It was all right. Why not right now, today, in meditation, today and beyond, start to make sure you take what's important more seriously and let go of the rest. And I think that's the only way we'll find inner peace and outer peace on this planet. So if I look at your country and I say, I want your country, I would like your gold. I want to own your people and your buildings. When you die, none of that will matter at all, right? You didn't bring any love or growth to anybody, including yourself. So, or whatever, I feel bad for people who spend their lives torturing others and hurting others. They're going to have a lot of pain to experience later on. And at the same time, in a weird way, they bring us together. Walking distance from my house, just about a year ago, there was a mass shooting at a supermarket. It was one of the most traumatic things I've ever experienced. I was going to walk in right at that moment and decided not to. I feel very fortunate in that regard. And the next day, there was hundreds of people putting flowers on the fence. And I went and I sat down, and I remember just sitting and meditating for a few minutes, and I could feel and see the energy of thousands of people pouring their love and gratitude and light into the space. And I had this epiphany that yes, there was one horrible act by one really unconscious person in a lot of pain. But then I see thousands of acts of kindness, thousands of acts of gratitude and love. And I saw the same when we had our fires here in Colorado and people were displaced. And so, yes, horrible things happen, but it gives all of us collectively an opportunity to do something amazing. And it gives us an opportunity to grow and to heal. So tonight, while there's a lot of suffering happening and there's war, some people are nervous about World War III. The anxiety is through the roof. I have no idea what's going to happen, but let's do our part. And the last thing I'll say is when I lived up in the Himalayas, I went up to kind of near the Tibetan border, and I got to meet all of these wonderful monks living in these monasteries. And from what I understood, first of all, it feels like you're literally on top of the earth. I get the earth is round, but the elevation is high, and you feel like you're just on top of the planet. And there's all of these monks, hundreds, thousands of monks meditating all of the time. And my feeling and sense was they were kind of holding an energy for the planet, right? They were holding a certain vibration from the top of the earth. That's what it felt like to me. And I thought that was beautiful. The problem, unfortunately, sometimes like that, like Tibet was invaded and many of those monks had to run and were kicked out. And the upside of that is the Dalai Lama came into all of our lives. We may never have known him or who he was. He's helped millions and millions of people. And maybe a war like this is pushing people like us into growing and doing something and shifting. So there's always an upside. And maybe the time has passed or is passing, that it's a small group of people on the top of the world holding the energy. It might be time for the rest of us to do it. It might be time for the rest of humanity to take responsibility for the spiritual well-being of the earth. So let's do it and see what happens. Woo! All right, deep breath. Relax your shoulders. If you just came in, all good, nice to see you. We didn't talk about much. Just my grandparents, World War II, Buddhist monks on top of the Himalayas, and a few other things, war. So I want you to get comfortable sitting down, laying down, whatever it is, spine straight if you can. If you've meditated with me before, wonderful. If you haven't, it's okay. We're going to take it easy. It's not going to be that long. And let's make some magic and some healing happen. So go ahead, close your eyes. If your camera's on, if you want, you could shut it off. Woo! Yeah, why don't we just all, I know everyone's muted, let's just let out a big, oh, holy moly. There are some days in our lives where the peace that we're feeling gets interrupted. And we could fight kicking and screaming, or we can go deeper. And this is our opportunity to go deeper. First thing I want you to notice, I love doing this at the beginning of a meditation, is I want you to just notice your own weather inside of your space. If you imagine the energy field around your body, with your eyes closed, just peek around. Is it heavy? Is it cloudy? Is it confused? Is it sad? Is it bright? Is it sunny? What is the weather inside of your space? So as you start to settle into meditation, I want you to just get a sense of the energy that you're vibrating in right now. That's all I'm asking. Is it high? Is it low? Is it dense? Is it heavy? Is it confused? Is it happy? Is it calm? If it was to take the form of weather, what would that weather look like? And there's no weather pattern that lasts forever, is there? All weather changes. So we're not here to fight the weather. You're not going to punch the rain or try to manipulate a tornado or to try to intellectualize a cloud and argue with it. It won't get you very far. All I want you to do is to feel the weather. Just like if you were to walk outside and just feel the temperature, feel the wind, feel the weather in your own space, and be as honest as you can be about it. If you're sad, you're sad. If you're happy, if you're at peace, it's all good. Make sure you're breathing. And if there is any emotion for you this evening or wherever, whenever you are, and it wants to flow and move and come out, let it. If there's a collective sadness or fear that you feel, allow it to move. We all know that every dictator that has ever existed on this earth was a boy with pent up emotion who didn't know how to feel it, who didn't get enough love or validation, who took all of that anger and sadness, fear, and lashed out at everyone else. We all know that. And we don't need to become mini dictators in our own lives. We don't need to torment the people around us. We want to deal with our stuff. So say hello to that dark side of you. If there's anywhere you've been suppressing any kind of energy, any kind of pain, maybe you've been lying to yourself or to others, or manipulating, or micro manipulating, or avoiding. This is part of the human experience. We all have a dark side. We all suppress. This is who we are as a species. We have not grown out of it yet. Say hello to whatever that is in you that's been causing maybe some of this weather. Perhaps symbolically or energetically, climate change is like the external weather that's kind of a reflection of our internal weather, our collective internal weather as a species. And as we get angrier and angrier, it gets hotter and hotter. Maybe one day we'll all be very uncaring and cold, and the weather will start to freeze over. Just say hello to that part of yourself. Whatever you've been suppressing, whatever negativity has been boiling in you under the surface, I want you to draw your awareness behind your eyes into the center of your head. Open that mind's eye and look at it. We're not going to escape to the Himalayas from it. We're not going to avoid it by over consuming content or leaning into our addictions of whatever kind they are. In meditation, we sit and we face the pain. We face the discomfort, whatever it is. True meditating is about going for the truth, no matter what it is, and in an accepting way, without judgment. And as the Buddhist monk Pema Chodron always says, our neurosis and our wisdom are made of the same material. This part of you isn't bad. It needs your light and your love. So, where inside of you have you not been getting enough light and love? If you need to, you can almost like point an internal flashlight around inside your energetic space, and you might find something. Be brutally honest. I'm effing angry at someone. I've been blaming that group of people. I have been frustrated for a long time. I am depressed and despondent. Nothing ever works out. The human species are a bunch of knuckleheads. I'm over it. I dislike this planet. What is it in you? That kind of harsh negativity that you want to avoid because you're a nice and a good person. Who knows? Maybe you had 100 lifetime past lives of being a brutal dictator, of being a warmonger, of being angry. Who the heck knows in other dimensions? But this is the version of you that is ready to transcend out of that and heal it. But first, to heal it, you have to feel it. We have to find it, and then we have to feel it. And then we have to face it. So face it. As you face it, as you feel it, maybe it starts to pour out of your pores. Maybe there are tears. Maybe there's anger. Let it start to move. I don't need to teach you any fancy meditation tool to do it. You have your own inner wisdom. Just be present with it. Yes, sometimes life can be super effed up. Allow yourself to fully get it and feel it. Notice that this is part of the human condition, and you're a human. And I'll repeat that in case you don't believe it yet, that this is part of the human condition, and you are a human. And the reality, the dimension that we live in, perfection doesn't exist. It's not a thing. And enlightenment is not perfection. Enlightenment is the acceptance of imperfection with total love and compassion. Allow that energy to start to shift, because as you're shifting this in yourself and being really honest, as you're releasing whatever this heaviness is in your dark side, the whole species, the collective species, is getting a healing. As a great master once said, the best gift that you can give the world is your own self realization. And for our purposes tonight, today, the best healing you can give the world comes from your own healing. If you need to, you can imagine like a shower drain underneath you. Any of this intense heaviness, it can start to pour off of you, just melt off of you. When it's ready to go, nothing will go until it's ready and until you've truly faced it. Being a good meditator does not mean you sit still really well. It means you face energy inside of you honestly with acceptance. Take a nice deep breath in, easy sigh out. Beautiful. Some of you are still coming in, but just as we're shifting our energy and really saying hello to something we've been suppressing, something in our shadow, something maybe we're not proud of or we struggle with, as we integrate it and accept it, we're going to start to turn our awareness towards sharing our light and our healing with the rest of the world. But before we do, I want you to just give yourself a healing for a moment. And the way I like you to do it is if you want, you can put your hands on your lap and face your palms up, if that's comfortable. And if it's not, you can put your hands together. But let's try and just put our hands on our legs and just face our palms upwards. And when you look into each hand, there's a beautiful golden ball of light, small golden ball of light hovering above each palm. And slowly that golden ball of light melts into the palms of your hands. And that light starts to move up through your hands, through your arms. And everything it touches in you, every part of this golden light, that every part of you that it touches, it starts to give you a healing. And it first moves up through your arms, through your shoulders, and into your heart, into the center of your chest. And it gives your heart a healing, your energetic heart, which is right in the center of your chest. This golden light fills up your arms and then goes right into your chest. And any resentment, any lack of forgiveness, any anger, any energy that's been weighing you down and holding you in a negative state, it starts to give a warm, loving, compassionate healing to. You don't have to intellectualize it or figure it out. It's just happening. And as it's happening, that golden light, it slowly spreads out from the center of your chest, down through your body, up through your body, into your head. It fills your whole body in slowly. And everywhere this gold touches, you're starting to get a really beautiful healing. Let your entire body start to fill with gold. Anywhere you've been at war with yourself, Anywhere you've been fighting, can you surrender and stop fighting? Anywhere you've been at war with yourself, anywhere you've been beating yourself up, judging yourself, over commentating and criticizing, as this gold passes through your whole body, that starts to melt away. And as you fill in with gold, I want you to reorient your attention. And we're going to start by orienting our attention towards Ukraine and the 40 or so million people that live there. And tonight, today, whenever it is, they're going through war. And many of them are probably afraid and angry and sad and confused, just like we've all been in different ways in our lives. But this can be quite extreme what they're going through. I want you to imagine, to see, to feel this gold light come out of the palm, both palms of your hands, and go right to the entire country of Ukraine. Fill the entire country in with a gold light, a calming, peaceful, safe light, moving into every single individual that lives in that country. And as healers, we all have different maybe roles to play. So maybe you ground people, or maybe you help them have good boundaries or feel safe. Maybe you help them connect spiritually to their higher selves. Maybe you just hold them in light, and maybe you help them heal a physical wound. Maybe your job is just to send them love. I want you to check in with yourself and see what kind of healer you are, what it is that you particularly want to offer. As a group, we're all sending our love and our light. There's hundreds of us sending healing energy, saying hello to the guides and the angels, to the planet, that we're a species interested in growing into having peace and resolving our conflicts in a peaceful way. And that every life has dignity, every life counts. And you can go in any direction with this healing. If you want to hold the president of Ukraine and his family in light, if there's a particular set or group of people, send it in that direction. And let's extend the healing. So you can either stay focused on Ukraine, or if you want, you can send the healing to other parts of the world that need it. I can name them all day long. There's parts on the African continent and in Asia, South Central America. If you want to give the whole planet a healing and every person on it, everyone who's struggling or afraid or suffering. And if you're very empathic and you feel overwhelmed with the sadness and the suffering of the earth, let it pass through you. It's fine. It's just energy. Don't get lost in it. When we hit a layer or level of sadness, if we can really move through it, underneath it, what we find is gratitude. We're sad because we care. So can you feel that love and that gratitude? This is what being a human being is really about. At some point in our lives, we start losing people. We have to face death. And then we find out who we really are and what's really important. And yes, it may happen from a deep level of sadness and loss. But we go with the opportunities that life gives us. And so here we are as a group on an evening where Europe is at the possibly beginning stage of a war. And we as healers, as people that are working on growing ourselves and expanding our consciousness, are here to shift the energy. There is no definitive way life has to turn out. That in and of itself is a belief and an energy. We can make this dream whatever we want. It could be a nightmare or it could be a beautiful, beautiful dream. It's our choice. And the realization that it's always been our choice is something we're growing into. Just allow some gold to fill in every human being on the whole planet, everyone that needs a healing, any species, land or sea, the plant life as well, Mother Earth. The earth itself is a being. It feels the pain of human war. We are all born out of this earth. We're the children of the earth. So when we fight, it feels that pain. Great work. Nice big deep breath in. Easy sigh out. You do not have to hold on to all the pain of the world. You get to help heal, be grounded, be yourself, and share whatever love and light you came to share. Great job. When you're ready, you can slowly open your eyes, stretch. I'm sorry that we went a few minutes over. Healing the whole earth took just a couple more minutes than I thought it would. Thank you all. Some of you I'll see in Sunday's class, and I will send out the recording of this to everybody on the email list. And actually, I never done this before. I streamed it onto YouTube, so it's already there. We'll see how that goes. Please don't troll me. um, and if you go back into watching the news, which many of you will, I actually think it's fine to watch the news in certain amounts and see if you could stay grounded and not absorb everything. So it's a good spiritual practice. You don't have to shut yourself off from the world, and you don't also have to inundate yourself. Okay. You can have balance. You can be informed. You don't have to absorb all the pain. Thank you, everybody. Thank you. Thank you. I love you all. Thank you so much for coming. Praying for peace for everybody in Ukraine and beyond. And hopefully, while we're alive in this lifetime, maybe we can end war on this planet. I think it really is possible. So I hope we can get there. Thank you all so, so much. I'll unmute you all if you want to say bye for a moment. It might be a little loud, so watch it. Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I didn't get to see all.
Thank you.
Miguel.
Good luck.
Hi,
Thank
everyone.
you.
Oh, it's so good.
Bye-bye.
Oh, it's so good to see you all.
Oh, that's wonderful.
To all.
I don't have my
I'm so happy to hear it.
but I know you're saying hi. and
Love
bye.
to everybody.
Oh, she has so many
Many
mouths.
people showed up to meditate and to heal on such short notice. How amazing are all of you?
Will you do it again?
So freaking cool. So cool. And if you want to forward this meditation to anybody that you feel like might need it or might help, feel free to do so.
Okay, thank you very much, David.
All right.
Thank you for all the
I'll see you.
Thank you for the gratitude.
Thank you.
Amen.